I think she's still got some work to do. She was out a long time, a lot longer than I anticipated, or she anticipated probably. So getting into the flow of things, her and Sarah Strong have such a great chemistry together, and it takes a little bit of time to get that back. And no matter how many drills you do or how much ball handling or passing or whatever you do, it's not the same as doing it in the game. And so little by little, she's getting it back.
Kind of a similar vein to Daniel's, but Azzi has that huge first quarter. Sarah had that huge start to the second quarter. Just from like a play calling perspective, how do you kind of balance getting them touches, feeding who's hot, kind of navigating having two players out there who can go on runs like that?
Yeah, the thing is, you're looking for some advantages. You're looking for some matchups that work in your favor, and at the same time, when a team is playing zone, things kind of show themselves as you might be trying. We talked during one timeout. We may be trying to get somebody a specific shot, and then all of a sudden, before we even get there, something really, really good opens up, and you can never predict those things. But I think our team is smart enough to know that the more times that Azzi and Sarah touch the ball, obviously the better we're going to be. So yeah, towards the back end of the season here, we've kind of been a little more intentional about where we're going with the ball. And what's funny, as soon as you do that, it opens up so many different things for the rest of the players on the team.
Early in the season, it seemed like Heckle came in for KK today. They were out there together a lot to wreak havoc. Are you like to see them together? They seem like they do a lot of good things defensively when they're playing side by side.
Yeah, depending on what we need, you may sacrifice some things when you play, KK and Heckle together. But you also get, a lot on the other end where the disruption factor and that's a big deal. We're trying a couple new things, but mostly we have to figure out a way to make sure that Sarah, Azzi, Blanca, all those guys are good to go, and one way to do that is play two players that don't ordinarily play together to give those guys a breather. Otherwise, it's a lot of minutes for those guys.
5 points allowed in that second quarter. You just talk about the defense tonight, and in particular the adjustments between the first and second quarters.
Yeah, during our timeouts, I made a really key adjustment. I said we should guard them at the 3-point line, and it worked. It really did. I thought I think they didn't make it any, maybe, or one or something. I don't know in the rest of the half, but. The danger with this stuff is, wow, they're not a great 3-point shooting team. Well, there's a lot of people that are not great at something over the long haul. That doesn't mean they can't be really good at it for one night, So I'm sure, yeah, if we played them 25 times, the averages would even out. But it takes a little bit of time, I think, to kind of get into the defensive flow, just like it does on the offensive flow. And I thought we were a little slow. Getting to who we needed to get to. And to their credit, they knocked them down.
Coach, take me through the right here. Take me through the celebration you guys had after the game. What does it mean to you to capture another Big East regular season title?
I'm glad they were able to do that. It still means a lot to our team, to our players. They promised us a robust confetti shower, and I thought they they delivered on. It was very robust, to use their words. Sometimes these things could be like out of a pop gun, you know, and I thought the confetti was really, 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 really well done. And like we talk about, it doesn't matter how many conference championships you won. I think that's Sarah Williams' first one ever, Khalees's first one ever, Blanca's first one ever. You know, so there's a lot of excitement for those kids who have never experienced this before, and that's kind of what makes it fun.
Coach,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Where?
You've had a couple of these games now where you sit Sarah Williams for an extended period in the first half, and then she comes out in the third quarter and has a really good start. I guess just kind of what are you seeing from her in that, and how do you kind of parlay that into some earlier success?
Yeah, I don't like when we start the game and 3 out of the first 4 possessions we go inside and we get nothing out of it. It's wasted possessions. Plus she doesn't like when I take her out and she comes out and plays better. So I don't think it's anything more complicated, I could say, than that. It's just that simple, you know. I don't like the way we start games when it's that, and it's some of it's our fault because we just don't have an idea what the hell we're doing, and some of it's her fault, and we both have to be better. The rest, the guards and her, have to be better.
Coach, Kaylee Heckel ended the night with 11 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the field. Can you just talk about what her most improvement has been since coming to UConn?
Well, I hope that she's improved her level of attention to detail, her level of playing at a high level. I hope she's a little bit better at making the decisions that a really good guard has to make. She's probably one of the fastest players in the league, you know, and learning how to use that at both ends of the floor. She's got a great pull-up game, and she's never been known as a great three-point shooter, and she's made her share of them. So I think there's a lot of things that that she's brought here, and there's a lot of things that she's picked up here. So I'm really pleased with. There's still some other things though. It's never where it's like, hey, we're scot-free here. We're just smooth sailing all the way along. There's 10 seconds left in a half, and I tell her to go trap a guy, and she goes and smacks him. So there's a language barrier right now that I have to overcome. I think they speak differently in Portchester than they do in Manchester, Connecticut, or.
OptaStat put out a tweet today that says UConn women's basketball has won 17 straight home games by at least 30 points coming into tonight's game. This is the longest streak of home wins by 30-plus points by any D1 men's or women's NBA or WNBA team this century. The next closest
This century?
This century. The next closest is by UConn women's basketball from February 2014 to 2015. So now it's 18. During this streak, does that surprise you to hear that, especially given some of the opponents you've played?
Yeah, all these things surprise me. There isn't anything that does. I mean, they surprise me because it's things that I never think about. It's things that we don't discuss. It's not something that I get up in the morning and I ask Anna, "Hey Anna, how many's that we won by whatever the number is?" I don't. So people bring it up, and I let it roll through my mind, and try to fathom that. I did ask. Just goes to show you how oblivious we are in the locker room. With the coaches, Jamel asked, what game was this? 27, 28, 29, what is it? And somebody said 30. Man, we played 30 games already. Like, we lose track of what we're doing. You know, you're just into the next game, the next game, the next game. So then the conversation was about, well, how many 30-win seasons have you had, and how many in a row, and blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, it's not even worth thinking about, because it truly doesn't make sense. You know, when you describe it the way you did it, it's, you know, I thought you were going to say, like, in the last 5 years or in the last 10 years, you know, and I was going to say this century. And I thought you were going to say Division I basketball and not add all those other things.
That's what it said right here in the tweet.
So people should not be allowed to work from home. You got way too much free time on their hands.
Jana said yesterday that she's playing with more confidence.
Who said?
Jana.
Oh,
She's attacking, rebounding a little bit more. That's my rebound. Every shot's a miss. I'm gonna go take it. How important is that confidence? She had 5 rebounds today, 16 Sunday. How important is it for her to be in that mindset heading into the postseason here?
yeah. We talk about that she is going to rebound. She is going to work really, really, really hard at that, especially on the defensive end. But even on the offensive end, you know, she tries to get a piece of the ball even when she can't rebound it. I just like for her to have that confidence to shoot a 15-footer every once in a while. You know, she made that little 5-footer today, which is great. You know, these guys all shoot every day, every single day. Then they get in the game and they look at it like it's, you know, a foreign object or something. So I wish they had the confidence to shoot it. But Jenna's getting better defensively. The more teams we play, I think that have a matchup for her, I think the more she's going to be able to help us, and certainly that'll happen when we get into the tournament.
You know, the men had the big game last night. You guys do last game at home this season. Do you take time to appreciate just, they call it the basketball capital of the world, but just how much this means to so many people in the state, and what the two teams are doing, particularly this year?
I certainly hope so. I also think, human nature being what it is, I think there's a feeling of it's expected. You read and you hear some of the comments after our men lost to Creighton, and you want to shake your head and go, how can one team have that many assholes that follow them? Like, it's not possible. It's like if you wrote a book and we lost to Creighton and said, write a book about how many dumbass things people could say, it still wouldn't be as dumbass as what I read or what I heard after they lost to Creighton. And those same people last night already booked their tickets to the Final Four and their championship rings. So it's just, it's Connecticut basketball, and it means a lot to a lot of people, but it can't be life and death every game that's played. It can't be you're the best team in the world when you win a game, and it can't be, everybody sucks. Why is this kid on scholarship when you lose a game? I mean, real fans don't do that. You either a fan of your team and you understand that there's wins and losses, or you're just a fan of winning, right? So if you're a fan of winning, move to another state and go see how much you win over there.
In addition to your robust celebration post-game today, you guys also celebrated National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Can you just talk about how important it is to give women in sports that recognition, especially coming from just such a storied program in the growth of women's sports?
You know, I was reminded of it today. We had some guests at practice, and Jeff Thatcher was Megan's coach when she played, you know, during those summer AAU tournaments. Actually, the team was Megan Patterson, Debbie Bear, Wendy Davis, Stacy Wetzel, a bunch of guys that played for us, right? And he brought a little 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and she had a T-shirt on, and she just wanted to watch, like was even like almost afraid if they came over and said hi, because it would be just like a miracle, like something happening to this little kid that she could never envision. You know, she watches every game, she knows every player, she knows everything. And so, you know, when the kids came over and talked to her and signed her shirt and got pictures taken with her, you really do get reminded of the incredible impact that these kids have on young people, and not just girls either, you know, but certainly, you know, young girls that look at them as, you know, I aspire to be that, you know, one day. And the interesting thing is that people are always surprised that my players are so accommodating and so eager to spread that word, spread that message. What people forget is there was a day when they were the same 5, 6, 7-year-olds who aspired to be like, someday I wish I could be in that world, in that space. And now they are, and I don't think they've forgotten what that means to a little kid. You know, so just having access to our players. I mean, if I was 10, you know, 11, 12, and when I was a kid, and I had the opportunity to meet like somebody like, you know, my players, it would change your world sometimes, you know. So I'm glad we got to do it, and I'm glad 14,000 people showed up. You know, it means a lot. It means a lot to a lot of people, and it means a lot to our players. You know, we try to put on the best show that we can for everybody. Little kids and grown-ups, little girls.